What's up everyone? Today I have a video. If you haven't seen by the title or the thumbnail, I think that DBD should have a ranked slash casual mode. The reason I think that the game should have a casual and ranked mode is because it feels like the community to a certain degree has been so divided within itself. What do I mean by this? I don't know if anybody that's been in the DBD community even for a little bit, like in forums and Twitter or Reddit or anywhere, even YouTube, TikTok. Basically, people are always fighting with each other. There's always two sides. One, the casual people, right? And then there's the competitive people. Most competitive people are always like hating, not hating, but like just saying that casual players kind of ruin the game, right? And vice versa, right? Casual players are always saying that comp players are ruining the game and they're making the game unfun and everything. So they're always at each other, right? I don't think this is a healthy division. Really, the only reason this division, like this hard division, even exists is because everybody's forced to be thrown into the same pool of matchmaking. This is why I believe that if there was a ranked and casual mode, this would make things better for everybody, like through all the spectrums of the game. Right? For example, casual players would experience less sweats, and people who want to play sweaty will experience sweaty players, right? However, you can't just put like two versions of the current game and just make one count MMR and the other one doesn't, right? Kind of like just like casual would not count for the MMR and ranked would. You can't do that. There has to be some changes to each mode in order to encourage the audience that mode wants to bring to play that mode, right? Let me first address the casual mode. There's a lot of things that they would have to tweak in the casual mode in order to please casual players, right? Because right now a lot of casual players think that the game right now itself is very sweaty and very comp, and they don't like it. What I would do is that I would do a lot of handicaps for each role. For example, the killer cannot like mega slug, like slug the entire team. The killer can obviously not camp, but that's already in the game. He cannot face camp. And the killer cannot tunnel. How would I go about in stopping the killer from doing these activities? Okay, let me go ahead and explain. So for the tunneling, in the casual mode, right? The killer would have to hook everybody once before he or she even decides to go twice for another person. I think that's a healthy choice because that means that at least the survivors, for the most part, if the killer does want to tunnel, at least he has to hook everybody once before he can even consider tunneling. This means that the survivor for the most part would get at least some kind of enjoyment from the game and not like immediately get tunneled at 5 or 4 gens. So that's how I would deal with tunneling. How I would deal with slugging is that the killer cannot slug more than 2 people at a time. Let's say the killer downs somebody, right? And then right after there's somebody right next to her, right? Or right next to him, and he downs him too. That's it. That's the only 2 people that he can down. And then if somebody else were to come and he were to down that person, the previous survivor, the one that got downed first, would get picked up automatically. That means that there's always, at all times, there could only be 2 people that are slugged. This would make it where the killer would not resort to slugging, but it's still kind of effective for the killer. Having 2 people down is still a lot of pressure, right? But it's not like too oppressive, and it also helps for when the killer. A lot of killers, what they tend to do is that they like to just bleed out everybody. With this change, they wouldn't be able to do that. Basically, the killer would be forced to kill him. Another thing that I did not mention while recording the original voiceover of this, and it just came up to my mind, I think in the casual mode, adding the unbreakable Mori thing that they had like in the PTB like a while back, this would be a great way to implement it here, because I understand why they didn't want to add it, because that's way too casual in my opinion, and it could be used in a lot of ways that are like really unenjoyable. But in the casual mode, I think it would be perfect. It would also mean that you wouldn't have to bring Moris and everything, because you already have Moris with you, base kid, and same with survivors. They wouldn't have to bring Unbreakable because everybody has it. But I think adding this in the casual mode would be a good implementation. So those are like a couple of the handicaps that I would add to killer in the casual mode. Now we have to add some handicaps for the survivors though. We can't just leave the survivors, let them loose how they are right now. In this casual mode, there needs to be 2 healthy survivors in order to begin working on a generator. Let's say a person that's healthy and everything wants to work on a gen alone, they cannot do that. Why do I say that? Because that's a big problem when it comes to like the people who are always saying like a lot of killers, right? They gen rush me, and it's the fact that survivors split up. Well, a killer can only chase one person at a time. If you have efficient survivors, they will split up on 3 different gens, and then if that chase takes even remotely too long, that's it. You're gonna hear like boom, boom, boom. You're just gonna hear 3 gens pop, and then you're just fucked, right? So basically, what I would do with this is that while you're chasing a survivor, there could only be at most there could only be one gen getting worked on at a time. This would slow down things enough for the killer to have an enjoyable experience as well. But you know, they're still progressing throughout the match, right? It's not like there's no progress happening. And also, the survivors have to be healthy in order to work on the gens, right? This is also another problem, that survivors that are very efficient, they begin to run perks like resilience and deja vu, and they become injured, and then they can work on a gen like 15% faster, and they finish a gen super quickly. This is problems that causes for survivors to be super efficient. Like I said, that's fine in the regular, like if the killer and the survivor are on par with being that efficient, then it's okay, right? But it's when there's an imbalance, when maybe the killer wants to have like a casual experience, and then the survivors are being all sweaty with brand new parts, resilience, deja vu, and like literally just committing to gens, right? Gen rushing essentially. And vice versa, right? Like let's say the killer brings like super sweaty perks and like plays super efficiently, like tunneling and everything and slugging, but then the survivors are not, they're not playing super efficiently. They just want to have an enjoyable casual experience, right? So then and then they get slugged and camped and tunneled, and then like and then the killer has like a bunch of gender regression perks that makes the game miserable for them, because they don't have the mindset of wanting to win, right? They just want to have fun. Also, I would take away the brand new parts. Those in a casual mode, you do not need brand new parts. Why would you need brand new parts in a casual mode? You're trying to have an enjoyable experience here. You're not trying to get out of it as fast as possible. So those would also be taken away. I think toolboxes can stay, just not brand new parts. Brand new parts has always been broken, and will probably stay broken. Okay, so now that I went over I went over like a little bit that has to change in the casual mode. Like these are things that have to happen, right? Even though it's probably not gonna happen, because I don't know what behavior's plan is. It's kind of iffy with behavior. I'm sorry, I'm going off of topic here, but a little bit. But behavior, it seems like they want to like do competitive DBD, but then all of a sudden they don't. Like it's kind of weird. It's kind of iffy. Like they're like on and off. Like you don't really. I really don't know when they want to like. I don't really know if the devs want to make the game competitive or they want to make the game casual. It's really hard. There's a lot of things that would have to go into work. I mean, I'm just one person, right? But there's a lot of things that could probably be changed. But I think if we were to change what I mentioned, it would make this casual mode a lot more enjoyable for people in general. It would force people to maybe encourage them to want to get chased by the killer, right? That's the whole point of the game, right? That's the fun. And if you find pressing spacebar on a white rectangle fun, well then just, I don't know, go play Farming Simulator or something. That's probably more enjoyable. But anyways, another thing that I forgot to mention is that the DC penalty should definitely get removed from the casual mode. This would just mean that the reason I think the DC penalty should not be in the casual mode is just in case that a killer does try being super sweaty, and vice versa, right? If the survivors are still trying like their best to be as sweaty as possible in a casual mode, then the killer has the ability to, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, and just leave. And vice versa, if the survivors are like, you know what, this killer's being too sweaty, I want to have an enjoyable experience, you just leave and no penalty, right? And that would force the killer or the survivors to say, well, hey, why am I sweating in a casual mode? You know, let me just go play ranked in that case, right? It would encourage them to either just get off the game or go to ranked. Okay, now that I talked about casual, I think it's time to change ranked. Basically, I think that ranked should be where all hell gets let loose. For the most part, right? Not everything, right? I think the face camping mechanism should go away, but obviously not base kit BT. Base kit BT should not go away when you unhook somebody. That should stay in the game. Almost everything, right? I just think that the face camping mechanism is a little bit too casual, right? That's why I don't think it should stay in the ranked setting. But basically almost everything how it is right now, like the game, I think it should just stay like that. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. I'm not quite sure if this would get, I don't know It depends on how competitive the devs want to make comp, right? Because it could get really competitive, like tournament level competitive. And by that, I mean banning certain perks on the killer side and letting survivors not duplicate their perks. And I'm not sure if it should get to that point, but I guess if this would ever get added, we would have to just go there and see. And if people are willing to play the game with banned perks and no duplicates, I think for the time being, I think it would be pretty good actually. And maybe banning certain add-ons too. Maybe no eerie add-ons on anybody. No eerie add-ons on the survivor side. No eerie add-ons on the killer side. Maybe not even some purples on each side, right? But it depends, right, on the purples. But at least greens and yellows are fine, but not purples, and then definitely not eerie's. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic. And another thing that I would also add is that there has to be rewards for these, right? You can't just add a competitive mode and not like have rewards. I think a lot of people, I used to play R6, right? A lot of it. I have like close to like 2,000 to 3,000 hours, right? Almost close to the amount of hours I have in this game. I have in R6. And you need to have rewards in a competitive setting, right? Because that's kind of what you like aspire to. That's what you push yourself towards, right? To get like that charm in R6, like that, hey, like you worked your ass off and you can show it to other people, right? So definitely they would have to add some kind of rewards in the ranked mode, because if not, people would just not play the ranked mode, right? They're already in the talks of adding like player cards or something like that. Maybe they can add special player cards that only you could only get from doing competitive in the game. And maybe cosmetics too. They could do maybe some cosmetics that like you could only get if you reach like a certain ranked. A bunch of stuff like this would absolutely help encourage people to play the ranked mode. So then if they were to play with somebody else, anybody else in general, they'll be like, oh shit, this guy, this guy plays ranked, right? Like he's serious, right? So yeah, I definitely think that there should be rewards. Without it, then this would absolutely flop. So yeah, with this, basically the both sides of the community would be satisfied for the most part, right? Maybe not always, because they're always complaining. Everybody's always complaining. However, I think it would satisfy people, because it would mean that the people who just want to all play casual, right? Well, then you just play casual all the time. There you go, no problem, right? And then the people who want to play the game sweaty will be able to play the game sweaty and get rewarded for it. Let me just go over one counter argument, or let me just go over one argument that people say, and it's like the biggest one when they say this. It's usually the fact that they say that the game would take longer queue times, or it would divide the community. But like, in my opinion, the community is already divided, so that argument doesn't even, it's not even validated. Like, if you've seen on Twitter and Reddit and any social media, basically people are always fighting with each other, right? They're always saying like, oh, comp players, oh, casual players. So the community is already divided. So, but honestly, the only thing that would probably get affected is queue times. But to be honest, I think the game is big enough where it can support having two modes. Because if you check on Steam charts, it has like around like a 30k people playing on Steam, right? This is Steam alone. We're not factoring Epic Games. We're not factoring console. We're not factoring Switch. I think that the most people who are playing this game are on console. So just by adding console alone, by the game having cross progression, it basically gives it like a large pool of people playing at once, right? So I don't think, if you told me that there should be a ranked and casual mode before cross progression, before crossplay, I don't think I would say no, because the queue times would take forever. But now that the game is big enough, I think you can. For example, I find a match within like less than a minute, and I think that's fine. I think if you find a match within like 3 minutes, that's good matchmaking. If you find anything over that, then that's probably bad matchmaking, and that probably means that there's either a problem in your server or there's just not enough people playing. But yeah, that's just one counter argument that I would like to address, just in case, because a lot of people do say that. Who knows if the devs would even ever add a mode like this? Because, like I said, I really don't know what the devs want with the game. It seems like they're maybe getting off of the competitive scene, because they used to have community cups, right? And then they got rid of those, but we don't know why they got rid of those community cups. Which is basically like tournaments, right? That the game itself like promoted. So they got rid of those, right? But we don't know if that just means that, okay, so what's going on? Do they not want the game to be competitive anymore? I think if the mode were to, if these modes were to get added, it would basically, each side would get the best of both worlds, right? One side would be happy because maybe one side all they would be playing is comp and they would be happy, and then one side would all just be playing casual and they'll be happy too. I personally would be happy just playing comp all the time, because that's what I like. I'm a pretty competitive person. I like sweating my ass off, basically, right? I wouldn't mind maybe like a casual game every once in a while, but I mostly want sweaty games, right? But anyways, I think that concludes the video. If you got this far into the yapping session, a subscribe and a like would be much appreciated. And also your thoughts in the comments below. Like, do you think that my idea of casual and ranked should be in the game or not? Or maybe you have another idea as to how the casual mode can work, or vice versa. But anyways, have a good day, have a good night, have a good evening, have a good afternoon. I'll see you in the next one.